Greetings. Today we'll be talking about critical thinking. The topic is transitive logic. Now you may not have heard that term or know what the definition is, but we use transitive logic all the time every day. And it actually works. It's a very safe assumption using transitive logic gives us very safe assumptions many times. Let me show you some examples. I think it's easier if we look at that. If we look at some examples. Transitive logic. Our assumptions may be correct, they may not be correct, but most of the time, transitive logic works. So if we have 4 lead balls, A, B, C, and D, and we say lead ball A is heavier, we weighed them. A is heavier than B, B is heavier than C, C is heavier than D. And if someone says, is lead ball A heavier than D? Without weighing them, transitive logic would tell us, of course it is. D is the lightest. If we know A is heavier than B, and B is heavier than C, C is heavier than D, it's got to be A is heavier than D. We're applying transitive logic there. And if we tested it in reality and weighed them, that would be true. And if we did something similar, let's say, take another example, horses, horse A, B, C, and D. A beats B, B beats C in a race, and C beats D. D would seem to be the slowest horse in that scenario, or transitive logic would tell us. If someone said, is horse A faster than D? It would have to be. Transitive logic would tell us that. And if we tested it in reality, had them race, we'd see that's true. So these assumptions we do all the time with transitive logic. And my point here is that even though these assumptions work many times, there are cases where they won't work. And let me give you an example of that. We're going to talk about some special dice here. Just move this up a bit. Now, these dice, I should say that the special dice, they look like regular dice, but the numbering on them is a little bit different. You don't have number 1 through 6, one of those numbers on each of the 6 sides. You have different, and we'll go through that in a minute. But in this case, the way we play this dice is A beats B 2/3 of the time. If you roll dice A and then you roll dice B, 2/3 of the time, A will be a higher number than B, and it'll beat it. Similarly, B beats C 2/3 of the time, and C beats D 2/3 of the time. Now, if someone says, what about A beating D? Transitive logic would tell us, yeah, probably, because it seems to be the weakest, comes up with the lowest numbers, because the scenario here. But in actuality, these dice, the way they work, the transitive logic doesn't work. Dice D will beat dice A 2/3 of the time. So your assumption doesn't work here. Transitive logic is not at play. So my point is our assumptions could be very valid many times, but you should challenge your assumptions, challenge others' assumptions, put them to empirical tests to see, what the reality is, whether it's true or false. Now, this is the numbering scheme, just so you know. In 1 second here, dice A has 2 zeros and 4 fours. Dice B has all 3s. C has 2s and 6s, and 5 has 1s and dice D has 1s and 5s. And so they kind of look like regular dice, but like see this one, for example, has all 3s on it. This is obviously dice B. So they're a little bit different. Now, if you played a game with a friend and you put these dice on the table and said, you pick first, and you played, let's say, a game, a game of 7, who's going to win? If you have 7 rolls, who will win the best of 7? If your opponent picks first, if they pick dice B, you pick A. If they pick C, you pick B. If they pick A, you pick D, because D beats A, right? This is like non-transitive logic. D will beat A. So now you will win if you have a game series of 7 games. Since these dice work 2/3 of the time, you're going to win best of 7. Now, if your opponent says, you pick first. So if you pick the dice first, now you can't control what's going to happen. But it'll be about 50-50. So if you have a game of 7, you might win 4 out of 7. Then your opponent may win 4 out of 7. It's going to be pretty close, 50-50. But if they pick first, you can totally control it, and you'll always win a game of 7 or a game of, best of 11, however you want to play it. So now, if you're in one of my, so this is how this works. And again, we have to test our assumptions. Now, if you're in one of my IT classes, you're reading this book. This is Critical Thinking Exercise number 3. And this book, you don't have to read the whole book, but there are certain chapters here in the assignment that are listed that you need to read, because in each of those chapters, there's a critical thinking example. And actually, in the prologue to this book, non-transitive dice is mentioned, but not really explained. So now you have an explanation. You understand what it's all about. So if you so that's I hope this helps in terms of challenging assumptions, your assumptions or others' assumptions. And if you put a comment in this video, give it a like. And at the end of the semester, we'll give away these non-transitive dice, which, trust me, are not easy. I actually made these. It's not easy to buy them for some reason. You could try to get it from Europe, but it seems like it's very, very expensive, and the website seems kind of flaky. It works, it doesn't work. So I ended up making them, but I'll give you, we'll have a raffle. Whoever puts in, we'll just randomly pick up from people who put comments in, and subscribe to the channel, and you're in the raffle. That said, have a good day. Hope this was useful. Bye now.